UnitedWeStart, a group discussion of activists, bloggers, authors, and other leaders in the independent media to inform, educate listeners in various topics. Join us every second Saturday of the month at 10 to 12 a.m. Pacific Time, which is 18 to 20 hours GMT. Join us. We're looking forward to meeting you.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the United We Start radio podcast here at UnitedWeStart.org. My name is Matt Navarro, one of your hosts today. We are a collection of people from around the planet gathering to discuss topics of concern for people around the world, especially the New World Order and its effects on us and what we can do about it. And we have as our regular guest, Michael, Detlev, and Alan from Open Your Mind Radio. Guys, why don't we give everyone a quick introduction and we'll get into our discussion today.
Okay, I'll jump in. I'll start. Hello, everybody. Happy New Year and all that kind of stuff. 2019, the start of the year. We don't know what's going to be happening this year, but I bet it's going to be fun anyway. There's been a lot going on since we had our little break since November. And a lot of things going on. So we look forward to giving you an update on the things that we came across over the last couple of months and things that are going on. Myself, Alan James, I'm a co-host with Steve and George. Steve's not available tonight at the moment. But we hope to go through a lot of stuff tonight. And if people want to check us out, oimradio.com is the website. And that's it. We'll crack on.
Detlev. Thanks, Alan. Yeah, go ahead, Detlev.
Yeah, thank you, Matt, for this nice introduction from the early morning bird here on the West Coast and the U.S. Here it's already 7 p.m., so a little later, in Switzerland and in Northern Europe. Or even down here to Switzerland and Austria, we have snow in the mountains, at least. Heavy snow, by the way. So it's a dangerous place to be at the current moment because of avalanches. So there have been some people already dying. So just as a quick information. So snow is nice, but not always when you are being hit by an avalanche, right? Yeah, but other things are really an issue, and we want to discuss this today with our forecast 2019. That's how I called it. What will happen? Prepare yourselves. And we are preparing for this here at Wake News TV and Wake News Radio. We just got a hit by YouTube. So, our channel, our main channel there at YouTube is in danger. So we are building up our own channel. wakenews.net is our website, and wakenews.tv is our video channel. So we are trying to have an escape route, right, when they hit us. So that's basically what has been happening in the last few days. And we are looking forward to trying to do some educational work here with our United We Start roundtable discussion. And I'm hosting this server-wise, and I'm also producing here from Switzerland. So I'm happy if you are also happy with us broadcasting. So tune in. Thank you very much for being part of this. And why don't we hand it over to Michael now? Michael?
Yep, I'm here. Well, actually, welcome everybody to the new year, and I hope everybody had a nice start. But when you look about the political issues here, I think we're up in for some trouble in 2019, because when I look at the situation in France about all that upheavals they had, a demonstration with the yellow vests, I see quite a potential for a civil war going on over there. So I'm quite concerned what the situation might bring for us this year in France. I have good hopes that through the solidarity of people over there, the Yellow Vest get together. They go on these circle and the roundabouts. They're there to meet there and to make their issue known, and they talk to each other. So the positive point of this all is solidarity, and the system is afraid.
Michael, let's save that for our discussion. How about just a quick introduction to your website and your radio show, please?
Yeah, well, I have every month I have a show the end of every last Tuesday, show in German where I explains situations, political situation, and on a spiritual background what's going on. I try to connect to the, as I said, the spiritual background of the situation, the beings behind it, their goals, their ambitions, their agenda, and that is my main goal.
Okay. And your website?
That is Michael at wakenews.net.
Excellent. Thank you. My name. Oh, go ahead real quick.
Matt,
Detlev.
why does Alan should explain about the chat room, possibly?
Yeah, sure. Let me go ahead, Alan, and then I'll give my introductions. Go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, if people want to log in and have a chat with us, you go over to UnitedWeStart.org, and you don't need a password. You just log in as a guest, and you'll be able to see us and chat to us there on the old chat room. As I say, there's no username or password that you need. Just type in a name and select log in as guest, and you'll be fine.
Thanks, Alan. Yep, I'm logged in there right now. Just click on the UWS chat and schedule tab, and you'll get there. My name is Matt Navarro. As I said earlier, I'm here on the West Coast, as Detlev mentioned, in Oregon. Nice day out here today. Got some sun finally. It's been a while. But my website, nwodor.com, nwodor.com. Click on the podcast archive page, and you'll find a library of information about the New World Order. Lots of information on staying healthy. I interview some of the top naturopathic doctors and regular MDs from the planet, basically, and they teach you a lot about how to stay healthy, what types of supplements to take. And right there on the front page, you'll find a link to the interview I did with Dr. Keith Muller about NanoSilver. His company, American Biotech Labs, created this 10 part per million NanoSilver, very, very effective stuff against all kinds of bugs. So take a listen to that and consider getting that, putting it in your arsenal to stay healthy. Okay, so yes, it is a brand new year, and I'm sure we have a lot of topics for our discussion. We've got 2 hours to go, so let's start with Alan, because I know you're just itching to bring up some stuff here.
Right, okay. Well, I suppose what we have to start off with is the whole Yellow Vest movement, which is started in France, and then it's gone around to a number of countries. It happened over here as well in Ireland. Every Saturday, people are getting together with the Yellow Vests. And the idea is that finally we have a people's movement and not a party movement with hidden agendas. Excuse me. A lot of the movements before there was hidden agendas with parties getting involved and doing talks and trying to push their agenda. What's good about the Yellow Vest movement that I've seen so far anyway is that over here in Ireland we have 13 things listed that we want changed in the country, and the 13 things that are listed everybody would agree on. They're not going to, the whole idea of the elites and the government is that they play the divide and conquer game. They give you a subject, or they'll get you to vote on a referendum which will divide the people right down the middle, whatever the referendum is. And people have to realize that we have to stop buying into the divide and conquer game. And that's what they do. And that's what's stopping everybody from getting together, because that's the game they play. And we've had it over here where we got to the stage where there was an eviction or foreclosure, as some people would say, in Strokestown in Roscommon. And basically, it was a British security team, loyalists, come down from the north to evict Irish people from the home. I mean, that's the Irish history. That's the history of Ireland in a nutshell. And of course, that was dealt with. There was a group of people removed the security company and told them not to come back. But this is the whole idea. They're trying to do the divide and conquer again by getting the north and south fighting each other here in Ireland. But we're actually, we know about it. It's been nipped in the bud, and the people up the north and people down the south are going, hang on a minute, they're trying to play us again. So it's all being kind of sorted out and smoothed down. But this is what they do all the time. And more than likely with the Yellow Vest movement, they're going to do the same thing. I know France is going through hell at the moment, and they're trying to arrest people, and they're saying they're going to bring in the military. And in Egypt, they actually are stopping shops selling yellow vests so people wouldn't have a yellow vest so they'd protest. That's how ridiculous it's getting. But globally, people are beginning to wake up. They're beginning to see it. They're beginning to ask questions. What the hell is this all about? Why? You know, like in Ireland, I was speaking from Ireland. Since 1922, nearly 100 years, no government, there are mostly two governments, Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, have been in most of the time. And them two governments, in 100 years, cannot sort the problems out with the country. Does that not tell people something that they don't really want to sort it out because it suits them the way it is? And that is replicated all around the world, whether you're in the UK, whether you're in America, France, I'm sure it's all the same. So the Yellow Vest movement is a phenomenon globally because it's happening everywhere. Hopefully it'll continue. Hopefully it will evolve, and hopefully people don't buy into divide and conquer, or it's not. We don't get some rogue elements going in and spoiling it for everybody else, which generally happens as well. The last thing the elites want people to do is to wake up and realize what's going on, because their game is over. So I'll pass it around to the table if you want to comment on that.
Yeah. Well, Alan, you're absolutely right. But I listened to an interview in France where people participating in the Yellow Vest movement were giving some explanation why they're on the road or in the streets. It is not Emmanuel Macron, the current president, who is the evil. He's just the last one of the evils, right?
Yeah.
The presidents before, especially it's talking about France, they have done the same thing. It's just now Macron has pushed it too far, possibly on purpose, because he's a Rothschild agent. We all know that. He's a clear Rothschild agent because he's been working with Rothschilds, and he's in companion with Rothschilds, and he's been a partner with Rothschild. So it's very clear he's working for those banks, families. And now he has pushed it too far, and that's what will happen in every country. It happens in other countries as well. I mean, it's Belgium, it's Holland, it's even in Germany. There are some groups. In Switzerland, there are groups. In Austria and other places. UK, I guess. There was a demonstration today in the UK where somebody was arrested, even one of the heads of this yellow movement. But you know, in the end, it is not only the things which are happening currently, it is an accumulation of all the evil which has happened over the past 10, 20, 30 years, whatever. So it is a global awakening, a part of this at least. And there are many more people who would like to join, but they are still afraid. And that is something which we all have to overcome, and we all know this. We are being harassed all the time. You know, the guys who are talking about the dominant insane minority and their bankster games. Matt, what do you think?
I like the idea that people are rebelling, and here in the United States, they portrayed it in our corporate-controlled media as a protest against a gas tax, when in fact the Yellow Vest protest is a protest against globalism and the loss of sovereignty for the individual in every country. You know, we don't want the New World Order. We don't want the climate change agenda. And people are starting to show that. And in France, I'm glad these people have the gumption to just go out in the streets and start demanding that the government change things. You know, they had that revolution where they guillotined, you know, their royalties' heads, which wasn't a bad idea. And maybe Macron got a hint, but you know, I would like to see that start spreading around the world, which it is. I don't know how well it'll play here in the United States because of the FBI and other intelligence agencies infiltrating with agent provocateurs. I think people have to be aware of that. But boy, isn't it this kind of thing that we've been advocating since the start of UnitedWeStrike.com and UnitedWeStart.com now? The people band together to resist tyrannical government. I think it's wonderful. Michael?
Yeah, I mean, people notice that they've been duped for such a long time, and they knew it subconsciously all along. But now it becomes, it becomes a conscious. It becomes to grow, in their awareness seems to be growing, and they realize it. I don't know to what level they realize it. I think you can, establish some groups. Some of the people know that the Freemasons are behind it, and some elite group, which is has a negative agenda to rule over the people illegitimately. So I think that what is really important in that movement, that people are getting together. They have been autonomized. They have been separated. That divide and conquer game has been played upon them for so many centuries, basically, that now they're getting together again. They're having contact with each other. They discuss things with each other outside of the TV kind of the TV situation that it used to be, that the people were watching television all the time and they could not, they didn't get together. Now they talk to each other again. And for me, that is a positive aspect of the whole thing, because then they can grow solidarity, they can share things with each other. And it's a human quality that is being reestablished, basically. I have great hopes in that. And from there, I see cure for the whole kind of social structures, basically of the whole world, if that plays in other countries as well.
Yeah, I'm hopeful too, but boy, I seriously doubt that's going to happen here in the United States. We're so divided. Either the Republican and the Democratic parties are so divisive and deliberately so, right? So they can balkanize us either from one camp or the other. But the delirium and the dishonesty I see in our corporate-controlled media and in our politics, boy, it's going to be a tough sell here in the United States.
But the thing is, you have an ace in the hole that we don't have, Matt. You have Trump, and Trump is doing a lot of good stuff over there. I mean, we can see it. We're seeing what's going on, and you have somebody at the top who's actually doing what needs to be done. And I don't know, many reports I've heard about Trump nearly being taken out, because they don't want him, and the Democrats are going nuts because they don't want him doing what he's doing, because they're being exposed for what they are. And I believe there's a bill coming out called the HR 25 bill. And if this bill gets passed, it really will put a nail in the coffin to the Democrats. Now, we don't have that over here. We have a cesspit of corruption all the way from the top to the bottom in Ireland. And I don't know about Detlev in Switzerland or in Germany. Probably Germany with Angela Merkel anyway. But it's just an unbelievable cesspit over here in Ireland. We don't have anybody at the top. I know we have the Yellow Vest movement, but the more and more people that get exposed. Now, I do feel good about the whole Trump thing, because when things happen in America, they tend to come over to Europe. And I think that's going to be the case. I think Trump and his people and the White Hats have to sort out America first, because it's the de facto currency is the dollar, and for a number of other reasons. But when that kind of gets starting to get sorted, and things like on a level playing field, I reckon that will start coming over here now in Europe. And then certain people will start getting either taken out or they'll be walking out of their positions when they realise what's coming down the pipe. Because I do believe this is their time. They had their time. They had the chance to do what they needed to do, and they didn't do it. They weren't successful. So now it's our time. And this is why we're saying with the energies hitting the planet and people waking up and asking questions, and as Michael said there, talking to each other, switching off the TV. I mean, again, Trump really started putting his finger on the pulse there when he started, mentioning fake news, CNN and all that. And then people are now calling out. It's happening over here. Our RTE radio, TV, people don't want it. 92% of the people over here, because we pay a TV license, 92% of the people said they would get rid of RTE rather than pay a TV license. So that goes to show you now, their TV station over here is half owned by the government. It's a semi-state body. So they're going to pander to what the government tells them because that's the soundboard for the government. And if they don't do it, they don't get paid. So, it's the corruption over here and it's blatant in your face. I could go on and on about it, and we have talked about it on OIM, how blatant it is and how undemocratic it is. And double standards and everything else. It's unreal, but I do feel that a lot of people are beginning to wake up now for a lot of reasons. And but you guys in America, you have somebody at the helm making the changes, and that's great for you guys.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I'm having audio issues with Alan. Is anybody else hearing that?
Yeah. I had this, there's this funny sound as if aliens would invade soon.
Yeah, just a rocket went off, it sounded to me.
Okay. So it's not just me. Something on your end, Alan.
Okay.
Anyway, this is Ireland.
I'll just tell the aliens to leave the UFO alone for a minute.
Yeah. Well, but it's already happened. I mean, I don't know whether you followed the news in this subject. There's a downgrading of diplomats. For the EU, the European Union, so they have been downgraded. So they're not being treated as they were before under Obama. They are now diplomats second class. I don't know whether you followed this. So they're not being invited to all these events and so forth. They're not being treated like they've been before. So this is already a smash into the face of the Europeans, right? I mean, not the Europeans as such, but the European government, right? Yep. So I think this is quite amazing. I mean, this was news just a couple of days ago.
That's interesting. I do agree with you, Alan, that we do have Trump, but at every turn he's being neutered. Like he wanted and announced right at the beginning of the year that he was going to pull out the troops from Syria. Not that we were ever told we had troops in Syria to begin with, but he said we're going to bring home the troops from Syria because we've defeated ISIS. Well, we stopped funding, training, and supporting them and supplying them. Yeah, we could probably defeat ISIS, but that's besides the point. So what happens? Lindsey Graham, who I think is a total intelligence asset. He's a senator here, goes to visit Trump, and then Trump then decides, well, we're going to have a staged reduction of force. I mean, we're not going to pull them all out at once. And so he changed his mind there. And then you got security advisor John Bolton, who never saw a war that he wasn't fond of. He says it's going to be a staged reduction. You know, the guy can't get a break from, even within his own administration, from these globalists and war hawks and New World Order types. We call them deep state now. We have to acknowledge that they existed. So they, in the corporate media here, they describe them as deep state when the translation is New World Order. He can't get a break, and then he's having to fight the Democrats, like the idiot Nancy Pelosi and the idiot Chuck Schumer. You know, both about as, I don't want to say they're dumb, but they're deliberately stupid. They go out of their way to be deliberately stupid to resist anything that Trump wants to do. I think he's doing good, trying to do good, but boy, he's up against a monster, and he's just one guy.
Yeah, no, well, he's not actually. He's more than one guy. He is one guy at the top of the food chain, but he has a lot of people underneath that are supporting him. The thing is that it's a very complicated game at the moment. It's a very complicated game of chess, but he can afford to play the long game. It's frustrating. I know. Yeah, I totally agree. It's frustrating for him because there's certain moves he's making, and they tend to go in and block that move. But it is like a game of chess. You can think of another move and move differently. The good thing is that Trump can play the long game, which is what he's doing. The Dems can't play the long game, the deep state. They're panicking and they need to do stuff now. They need to get things sorted now. And Trump is playing the long game and kind of teasing them with, do you want some food, and then taking it away and then teasing them, and then do you want, I mean, this game has gone on, but it is highly complicated, and we can only understand a certain amount of what's going on because there's a lot of stuff going on in the background that we don't know. So we can only speculate. But I do believe he knows what he's doing, and he's had some good wins. But like, he's not in full control at the moment. That's the problem. That's why it's taking time. And when you know that your back is against the wall, and that, if it is the case that John McCain, because I don't know whether you guys heard, we're getting it over here that John McCain was executed along with Daddy Bush.
No.
Right.
They died. They died of natural causes.
Well, I disagree. I tend to go.
Daddy Bush was really in bad health. I remember they rolling him out for last year's Super Bowl. No, it was some. It was some sporting event anyway, and he looked really rough. I mean, he could hardly speak. And hardly moved. I mean, he was in a wheelchair, so I believe he had, died of natural causes. And John McCain, he was one of their best lieutenants, the New World Order's best lieutenant. They won't take him out, and there was no reason to take him out. He really probably had brain cancer.
No, I kind of disagree in that. There is a reason to take him out because he was done for treason and human trafficking, and there was supposed to be a deal done where. Basically, John McCain said the option they gave him, he knew that he was going to be executed. So the option they gave him, they said, we either expose you and let everybody know what you like, and then obviously execute you, or you can give us some inside information, sing like a bird, and then we'll tell people that you died because of your brain tumor to protect your family and your legacy. So he opted for option number 2.
I seriously, where are you getting this information? I've not heard of this.
Well,
you're not getting it with Thomas Williams, are you?
No, actually, Thomas didn't tell us that. This is from another source. But I actually do like Thomas. I know you don't like Thomas's information, but I do. But look, at the end of the day, this is the whole thing about open your mind. It's all about doing your research and checking it out. I've gone around a few websites and I've spoken to a few people about it. And this is the general consensus that we've been given. I don't know how much research you've done, but I know that I've done enough to convince me that that's what's happened. Now, if it's wrong, then it's wrong. That's fine. But it makes sense to me that they would do something like that. And especially with I don't know whether you guys noticed at the funeral of Daddy Bush. Did you guys watch the video footage with the envelopes dropping out of the actual books?
Yeah.
Okay, what's your take on that?
Especially the Bushes. I mean, George handed over the paper to Laura, and Laura was completely stunned about the content, I guess, and passed it over to Jeb Bush, and he was completely out of control. Yeah, I've got this video here, and I posted in the chat room if you wish.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, we all don't know what is written in there and whether it has any importance, but it definitely was more important than the 9/11 one. Where George Bush sat in his schoolroom, right? Do you remember?
Yeah.
He got this information, and he stayed very calmly, and for another whatever minutes and so forth. But in this very incident, they were very confused and very exaggerated here at the funeral. So let me pass it. post it in chat room.
Did Michael? Did you see that video?
No, I didn't. But I wanted to say something about what Matt mentioned before. That the society in the U.S. is divided, and people cannot talk to each other. But I mean, how much does the division play to people that for the humanistic values, to live a happy life, to live a respectful life, to live a life of harmony? I mean, these are the issues that can be talked about. And how much did the governments or the respective parties contribute to that? That is a question one should answer. And whether they, then they find out that they've been duped all along, and then they might think above those kind of the rules of the game. And then they find out that they have a lot of things in common. And that is the common denominator, I think, which people should communicate to each other. Not they say, I'm a member of this football club and he's a member of the other football club, and then they hit each other's head. That is very important, that we are human beings. We want to live happily. We want to achieve something positive, hopefully, and that we want to be respected. And I think if you talk along those lines, then the conversation should be possible. What do you say to that, Matt?
No, that's not happening here in America. There is no respect for people in political discourse anymore. If you're in the Democratic side, you're an anti-Trumper. We have this phenomenon called Trump derangement syndrome, because people are just so insanely, I mean, it is insane. It is odd to live here in America at this point in history, because these zombie-like people who parrot the anti-Trump hatred will not accept any kind of discourse. They do not respect you enough to listen to you. As soon as you open your mouth about something, they're accusing you of being a racist, a homophobe, a transphobe, a Islamophobe. They'll anti-Semite. They'll shut down any kind of conversation that you would like to have, logical discourse, by calling you some name, going on an ad hominem attack, because they have no stance from which to, have an opinion. I'll give you a great example. Prior to the recent midterm election here in November, just prior to it, it was like the day before. The bassist at the time, was over here, and we had a discussion. He says, "I bleed blue." Well, here in America, the Democrat Party is represented by blue, and the Republican Party is represented by red. More division there. But so he says, "I bleed blue." And so I asked him, "Why do you say that?" "Because I'm a Democrat." "Okay, why are you a Democrat?" He goes, "Well, because I hate Trump." "Why do you hate Trump?" "Because he's a racist." "So what has he said that has been racist?" Okay, so what else about Trump don't you like?" "Well, he's stupid." "Okay, so what has he said that is stupid?" "Well, I don't know. I just know that he's stupid." I said, "Okay, well, let's look at it this way. The guy is a multi-billionaire. He has his own private plane, a 757, I believe it is, and he's the president of the United States. I would suggest that somebody like that is probably a rather smart guy." And I said, "Okay, let's compare Trump's resume to yours," and he's a paramedic, the bass player, and who's got the better resume? So who looks more stupid now? Okay. And he was just dumbfounded. I said, "Look, you got to have a leg to stand on. If you're going to tell me you bleed blue, then please have some idea of why you say these things instead of just parroting what the corporate controlled media tells you to say." And this is the problem in America, because we have stupid people like that who just parrot what they hear on TV and think they're smart, and shut down discourse because they don't want to talk to you, because they have nothing to stand on, by calling you some kind of name. And so I agree with you, Michael. I would love to see that happen here in the United States, but it's not going to happen anytime soon. As long as we have Trump in the White House, we're going to have this dichotomy here in the United States that is just really odd to live in. I mean, this is like Twilight Zone stuff. If you took me from 30 years ago and then transported me in time to where I am now in America, I'd crawl in a little hole and go into fetal position because I wouldn't know what to do. This is so bizarre to be here alive in the United States right now. These people are just like zombies that just parrot what they are told, and they cannot think for themselves. It's really a bad time in history here.
You know what we say over here, Matt. The trouble is with over here, we have the same kind of people where, oh my, this is a Fianna Fáil house, and my father was Fianna Fáil, and my grandfather was Fianna Fáil, and and it's like they're supporting a football team. But the problem is that these football teams are destroying the country. Now, what other football team do you know, an actual football team, has control of the country and destroys the country? None. But these people support these government parties like it's a football team, not realizing that they're destroying the country. And what we're trying to do is wake them up. There's a lot of politicians, what they do is, to get the vote, they turn up at the funeral or turn up at the hospital and turn up and they say, oh, I'll fix a few potholes in your road. And this is what they do. And more people are now turning around and saying, if there's a party or a funeral and stuff, they're saying, no politicians, please. So they're telling them not to turn up because that's what politicians do. If there's a funeral or, something like that, they will turn up purely to try and get the vote. That's how, they've no empathy and they're like psychos, as far as I'm concerned, parasites. That's my favorite saying about politicians because they suck the energy and the blood out of the people. But that's what it's like. So the Dems would be the same, Matt, for you. People Dems. I mean, why? I mean, there's three ways to vote, not two. Does the Democrats, does the Republicans, and does, hey, I'm not going to vote at all. Because over here in Ireland, I deregistered from voting. I can't vote because I deregistered. Because I feel, and this is my own opinion and speculation, that the voting system's rigged. So until I am confident that voting system's not rigged, then I'm not going to vote. What's the point?
Well, I disagree with you on that one. I think we still have to vote. If we didn't vote, Trump would never have gotten in, okay? Yeah, he beat the odds of the rigged system, and that's what really surprised him, and that's what pisses them off so much, is that we beat their rigged system. But yeah, it's so divided here. You can compare it to like a football team or a tribe, and this is tribal warfare. But as long as Trump's in office, I don't think we'll have any kind of coming together of American people. It's going to take some kind of catastrophic event, a major false flag of some kind to wake people up. And even then, I have my doubts. We can try. We can do what we do, continue to do what we do in our personal lives and on our websites and radio podcasts. I personally will not give up, but it's discouraging sometimes because the dichotomy, the division is so severe now. It's never been like this in our country, and it's not only the Democrats. There's the Republicans too that are at fault. I think we still have to vote, though, Alan, even in the face of a rigged system, because sometimes we do make victories. They're legalizing marijuana across the nation and now in Canada. So it does pay to vote even in a rigged system.
Well, the power of the people is getting some movement on that over here, not because of voting, because the power of the people. But the problem is that over here, the voting system, when people go and cast their vote, they have to use a pencil. That's very appropriate as well. Use a pencil that can be rubbed out. And then when all the votes are done...
pencil, not pen?
No, pencil. And when all the votes are done, they're not counted straight away, which is what the UK do. They go off to the local police station, inverted commas, and they stay there overnight conveniently. And then the next day, the counting starts. So you can understand, and in the past, there has been footage of boxes being moved out, moved in, and what have you. So just my own personal opinion, over here in Ireland anyway, with the election system, I'm not happy, personally, that the system is legit. And I know you say, even if it's a rigged system, but over here it would be a rigged system, and again, this is my belief. I'm not saying it is, but this is my belief. And if it is a rigged system, and this is how the system is done, then that's why for over 100 years we've only had two parties mainly in over the 100 years because of that. Now that has to change. The voting system has to change. But lads, Detlev, do you want to jump in there?
Yeah, I can confirm this, Mr. Pencil. It's the same thing in Germany, and I guess in other countries as well in Europe, where they're not electronically used. But the electronics are even more easily rigged, right?
Yes.
And the other thing is, I guess it doesn't matter whether you have one or two opposite parties like it's in the US or in Ireland. It's you can have many parties as it is in Germany, for instance, but they just go all together. So they're because no one can actually govern because they haven't got the majority or the majority numbers. So they just fuse, right? And then it's the same thing. It's just one party left with some extremes maybe, but it's just one party. So it's even worse. So I don't think that the current system is viable in the end. So we have to get rid of the system. And that's what people are discovering also in France and other countries where they are, now in the streets with the yellow vests. Because it's not only because of taxes. And that's what the people say. It's because of the New World Order. It's because of the bankster influences and so forth. That's what they say. And that's what they show on their posters and flags and what have you. So it's they have very awakened people amongst them, and they are educating themselves definitely. So I don't think that this will go on. I think this year in 2019, and this is also one of our topics, things will change. So there will be a complete turnover here in Europe, at least. I can't say that for the US. But if Trump is continuing the layoff of the government, then people are going to revolt because they are depending on the government payments, right? The food stamps and so forth. I mean, if that comes out, I heard that this is most probably the case end of the month, end of January. What is going to happen, Matt? That would be interesting to hear from you.
You're thinking 2019? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I mean, if the government is still not working by end of the month, there will be food stamps out of going out and no more going out. So the people will revolt because they can't buy any food anymore.
Gotcha. Yeah, okay, you're referring to the government shutdown that we currently have in place because of the impasse over continuing resolution to fund the government. And the welfare paychecks aren't going out. I don't know how accurate that is because my impression is that welfare is paid from the state coffers, not the federal coffers. Now, there might be federal food stamp programs out there that might be affected. And if that's the case, then those folks are obviously going to revolt. But if you were on food stamps, then you're probably more in line with a democratic mindset, and so you would just hate Trump worse generally because of his insistence that we have a secure border, and I don't know if they start rioting in the streets. I don't think it'll get to that point. But you'll start angering people. Now, as for the government being shut down, I say keep it shut down. Keep it shut down. We're hearing of stories of the TSA losing employees because they're not going to get their paychecks, and so they're looking for other jobs. And I say, great,
do it.
Abolish the TSA. I mean, who likes getting strip searched and groped whenever you go anywhere in the United States? I mean, even the Nazis did not do that to people. but we tolerate it here in the United States. So if the government shuts down, they can't pay for TSA agents. Great. I say that's fine. But I don't know, maybe we can start talking about the wall and that whole thing there. But I don't see the folks being on welfare affected much, because I believe the welfare is paid from the state and not from the federal level. So I'm going to have to look at that and see if that's really the case. But for right now, from where I sit, I don't think it'll have too much effect.
All right. I wondered because that's what I read, that there may be a problem by end of the month.
It might be scaremongering.
Yeah, possibly. But I mean, I agree. I mean, if government is shrinking down in terms of influence, that's only a positive.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine with me. But think about why we have the government shut down to begin with. And it's the real cause of all the strife in the world. The whole planet is affected by this, and it's because we're slaves to the private central banking system. In here in the United States, it's called the Federal Reserve. If we did not borrow money from the Federal Reserve and issued it from our own treasury, we would not be in debt to anybody. But because we're in debt to the Federal Reserve, we have a government shutdown because we can't pay the bill. Through this private bank. So people miss that in all of this discussion. Why do we even have a debt to begin with? Nobody ever talks about that. None of the alternative media, none of the corporate control media will ever tell you that. Yeah. But that's the root of the whole issue.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, maybe there will be an awakening, even amongst the government employees who will suffer from not getting their money.
I think it won't go on too long, really. I think Trump is playing a really smart game. He's going to give Chuck and Nancy time to hear from their constituents who will start complaining, and just say, hey, give them the money. It's only $5.7 billion. What the hell's we got to lose, right? It's chump change to the government. Really, it is. But I think he's playing that game. And if they don't capitulate, then he's just going to declare a national emergency and get the funding for the wall and build it with the Army Corps of Engineers, which they build things rather well. I don't think it'll last too much longer, and in the end, the Democrats will look bad. If they want to look good, then they'll capitulate. But in the end, I think if Trump has to call a national emergency to create the wall or build the wall, then that'll boost his base supporters, because he's keeping one of his primary campaign promises. We really do need a border wall, and $5.7 billion is only the beginning to pay for that. So I don't think it's going to last too long. And he's playing a very smart game of chess, like you say, Detlev. And I think he's going to come up on top.
All right. Yeah, Michael, why don't you tell us a little bit about your insight into the French situation?
Yeah, I'll do that right. I do that right away. But another point I wanted to make is that everybody has their agenda, but I say one has to look at the human agenda, as I mentioned before, to be respectful of each other, to help each other, to be brotherly, sisterly, to live a satisfied life, to accomplish something. That is the human agenda, and one has to ask whether that human agenda is being played by any of these parties. And I would say no. Only a fool has the illusion that these all governments will carry out some of those important issues that would be inside the human agenda. So this whole democracy and election puppet show is only there to give common people the illusion they have a say. They don't have a say at all, and the elites, or the dark elite, or the shadow government knows that right away, and they're making up that stage show to dupe the people like that, and to, well, however divided people are, Democrats and Republicans, one can talk about these issues and concentrate on the what I call the human agenda. And there, I think one has to talk to them and find a solution, and to bring them to talk about these kind of issues. That was that. But France, as I mentioned before, some people have the impression, or some people say that it might be also funded by Soros, which I don't know. I'm not sure. But even if it were so, what is the difference? Because I see a lot of honest and sincere people inside the movement, and I see on a human level growing together. As I said before, also they meet each other on these and these roundabouts and these ronds-points, they call it in French, and they meet in these roundabouts and discuss things over with each other. A real democracy is going on over there, and the government doesn't like it. They're afraid like hell that people grow in solidarity and discuss issues. And they really don't play democracy. They live democracy in a certain way, and they help each other. That's what they're afraid, because they separated through the television, through the whole hidden agendas which they had. They separated and atomized the people since centuries, basically. And now it starts to go backward, like 200 years in reverse, where people grow and develop those human qualities anew. And that, for me, is a great hope. And whether somebody has rigged it or somebody has infiltrated it, that's to be reckoned with. That is for sure that these attempts are going on. But nevertheless, I think that overall, these qualities gives the people worldwide a chance to be heard again.
True, very true. And I also think that the revolution is not, the current situation in France is not directed only against the government or Macron. It is directed against Rothschild, and Rothschild, similar bankster organizations or families. That's what the people also say. I mean, they are aware of Rothschild. I mean, Macron is the example of a Rothschild agent, because he's a partner of Rothschild. I mean, people can clearly read that he's in charge, right? Can't they? And there are many things which are interesting. I don't know whether you read about this or heard about this. There is a trial in the U.S. against the Rockefeller Foundation, $1 billion trial because of injecting people with syphilis in Guatemala. I don't know whether you listened.
I've not heard of that. No, I have not heard of that. Interesting.
That was even accepted by a local in the U.S. I'll give you the link in there. So there's a lot of things going on against those those lords, bankster lords, or lord organizations, if you want to.
I'd like to see that happen. Like I mentioned before, we're slaves to that financial system. If we can nationalize our currency and get rid of these private central banks, we solve 90% of the problem of the world. I swear it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I'll post it in a chat room.
Excellent. Yeah, I'll go look that up. Well, yeah. I mean, we're getting towards the top of the hour. Since you're handing out links, I'm going to post one in the chat room too. I met a guy last night. His name is Dan. Dan, if you're listening, thanks for the link. He sent me a link to a petition for the 911 evidence to a federal grand jury, and the website is the Lawyers Committee for 911 Inquiry. And what he described to me, this is as they've got a grand jury impaneled now. I don't know with what court. I'm going to have to research this a little bit, but what court or what district it's in, I don't know. Perhaps by next month, I'll have researched this better for you. But he was really encouraged by this, so I'm going to post this in the chat room. And what it is they're going to impanel the grand jury to look at all the evidence, including Building 7, which was left out of the 911 report. And bring that to a grand jury to see if criminal activity took place, and maybe just through the act of getting this through, it might expose what really happened on 9/11. Personally, I don't think it'll go anywhere because something like this cannot. It'll be squashed. But people are making a difference and or out there trying to make a difference. So I'll put this one in the chat for you guys.
Good. Yeah. Next topic is what? Because
we can talk about our predictions for 2019, and also I think we should really address the border situation in America a little bit when we come back from the break.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. Now, the issue is that there is a lot of things going on in terms of harassment of new media or of media like us or people like us, journalists like us. I told you about the strike against the YouTube channel in the beginning. So there will be even further harassments because they are getting desperate now because of the losing of their superiority in terms of information. They are losing numbers and they're losing control. So we will be facing quite some interesting times in the next few months, I guess. And also,
it's an incredible time to be alive. Really, it is.
Well, we are seeing history in the making.
Yeah. Exactly.
And there's a lot of changes going on. Again, we do focus on the negative, but I want to focus on the positive as well. I'm going to be mentioning a couple of things that Thomas said. So Matt, strap yourself down there because I know you'll get palpitations and you'll be sweating and go mad. Oh no, Alan's going to mention Thomas again. I have to jump in and say something. Yeah, it's all right, Matt. We know you don't like Thomas and we know you don't like his information. We accept that, but that doesn't mean I can't say it. All right.
No worries. No worries.
No, so you can calm down. Take a chill pill. But Thomas did mention the HR 25 bill, which is very, very important for America. Now, I'm on the Congress website at the moment, congress.gov website. And basically what it means is that, and it's very important, that it's to promote freedom, fairness, and economic opportunity by repealing the income tax and other taxes, abolishing the Internal Revenue Service, and enacting a national sales tax to be administered primarily by the states. So good things are obviously happening. If this bill goes through, the HR 25 bill in America, if this gets pushed through, then you guys in the States, the IRS is not American anyway. It's a foreign body. And when the tax is collected, it's shipped off to the Rothschilds anyway. So, but if this HR 25 bill goes through Congress and gets accepted, that's going to be a major change for you guys in America.
I'm looking at it right now, and if this passes, which I sincerely doubt that they will, but that would be a great win for the American public for sure.
Yeah, no, brilliant. I mean, this is what we want over here. I mean, we all know. I mean, Aaron Russo did freedom to fascism. He proved that you didn't have to pay tax in America, and that in 1913, when the Federal Reserve came in, the actual law that says about charging tax on your labor was never approved, and never went through to get the official stamp. So it was never. It wasn't a law that came in America, but what they did is they used the IRS agents to go and hassle people to make sure that they pay. In Ireland, it's the same thing. We've evidence over here that tax on labour is actually there's no law that says you have to pay it. It's by consent. But they used the strong arm of the law, because if they actually turn around and let somebody away with that, and the whole country start realizing that, hey, we don't have to pay tax on our labour, then they would be hung, drawn, and quartered, basically. Yeah. I mean, so they can't. They all know. I mean, people in the know, in our system in politics and in America, it's the same thing. They know that if they let the ball drop and people find out that you don't have to pay tax, that it's all done by consent, that they're ruined. That's it. They are ruined.
That's why they kill people.
by hell or high water, what they do is, no matter, even if you're right, and we've seen it over here in the courts, even though nobody has ever won regarding securitization and the banking system, nobody has ever won. Now, if the fact that nobody's ever won does not tell you something that the system's rigged.
So we're on top of the hour, so we'll have a break now, and we'll see each other after that. Please stay tuned, and we'll be having a great discussion and outlook for 2019 as well in terms of prediction. Okay, see you soon after that.
UnitedWeStart. We explore the new world order, finance, science, health, and other subjects in our group discussions of activists, bloggers, authors, and other leaders in the independent media to inform and educate listeners on various topics. Join us the second Saturday of the month at 10 to 12 a.m. Pacific Time, 18 to 20 hours GMT. Looking forward to meeting you.
She was young, she was ready, and her future seemed so bright. But along the road she traveled, nothing changes overnight. And her spirit she's forgotten, buried deep within her lies. And we're all gonna be there when she dies. When she was young, she was freedom. There was justice on her mind. There was truth, there was beauty, there was hope for all mankind. Now her darkness is showing, and we should not act surprised that we're all gonna be there when she dies. But didn't we all forsake her and take her for common ground? And didn't we use the best she had and take everything we found? It's a bad time to say it, and it hits between the eyes. But we're all gonna be there when she dies. And we look into the future and forget about our past. We were young, we were foolish, thought the things we had would last. But the dim light of freedom had the seeds of its demise. And we're all going to be there when she dies. But didn't we all forsake her and take her for common ground? And didn't we use the best she had and take everything we found? It hurts me to say it, but it hits between the eyes. But we're all gonna be there when she dies. Now she's lost in the jungle, though she tries to carry on. And the wise may try to find her, and the fools won't know she's gone. And to those who sit and wonder why so few have heard the cries, we're all gonna be there when she dies. But didn't we all forsake her and take her for common ground? And didn't we use the best she had and take everything we found? And it hurts me to say it, and and it hits between the eyes. We're all gonna be there when she dies.
United We Start, Fighting for Freedom. A group discussion of activists, bloggers, authors, and other leaders in the independent media to inform and educate listeners on various topics. Join us the second Saturday of a month, 10 to 12 a.m. Pacific Time, 18 to 20 hours GMT.
Have reached the level of.
Thank you for coming back to. Thank you for tuning into the United We Start radio podcast. It's the second half of our program today. Thank you, Detlev, for producing our show. You always have good music, and you always do a great job, and we are appreciative of your hard work.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, I think we should, as you could hear, as we were chatting on offline and we came back from break, we were having a great discussion about belief systems and fluid mind thinking. So I tell you what, Alan, since that was your conversation that was started, why don't you fill our audience in as to what your fluid belief system is, and then we will go into the wall and then predictions for 2019. How about that?
Yeah, no problem. Well, look, I'll do it very quickly. If people want to get the full talk on this subject matter, if they go up to our YouTube channel, we actually have the Basis Conference talk, and it's all about the psychology of how the mind works. And the problem is that people, we always say, and I know it's crude, but opinions are like arseholes. Everybody has one, right? The problem is that an opinion is only an opinion. It's not a fact. It becomes a fact when you produce the evidence. But a lot of people treat their opinion as a fact, and that's wrong. You can't do that. If you're going to treat it as a fact, then show us the evidence. So, but the whole idea is the fluid belief system is that for you to learn and grow and educate, you should be able to challenge what you believe. It doesn't matter what it is. You should be able to, if somebody comes around and tells you that, there is a flat earth, say, for example, we'll take that for example, right? Say there is a flat earth or the moon is made of cheese. You should be able to entertain the thought. You should be able to go, okay, that's fine. Can you give me some evidence to back that up? Or where will I find the evidence to back this so I can have a look at this? If you shut down straight away and you argue the point and you say, no, I don't believe you, then that means that the system has worked. The societal programming has worked on you, and you're shutting down before you're even giving it a chance to entertain the possibility that you could be wrong. And this is why it doesn't matter what the content is, whether the moon's made of cheese or whether it's flat earth. If you don't have the ability to challenge what you believe and say, well, okay, that's great, that's interesting, where can I find information on it? Then the system has programmed you in your way that you're shutting down. And so when I said there's a table full of people, if they're all open-minded and they're entertaining a thought, nobody will be arguing. The one person that would be arguing on the table would be the person that's stuck in the belief system, because he's arguing the point instead of entertaining the possibility that the information that he's been given is correct and he's wrong. This is why, and again, we go into a big talk about how the mind works, but we can't do it here because we don't have enough time. But they can go up to our YouTube channel, watch that, and you get some idea behind it.
I agree with you a little bit on 2 points. The fact that you should challenge what you've been being told and expect to find evidence to back up what you've been told. Without that evidence, there's a lack of credibility. I will agree with you there. Mm-hmm. But and I would agree that people should be, I don't want to say open-minded, I want to say objective, to be able to challenge what you currently think. But there is a limit to that, because when someone says something completely ludicrous, you just have to it doesn't take any research at all to know that they're barking up a fictitious tree. For example, the earth is flat. Well, that's entirely ludicrous, and to even have to spend time entertaining that is a waste of one's time. So there are limits to what you
I don't. I disagree. You're falling for it again, Matt. You're saying, "Oh, that's ludicrous." Well, no. I mean, I wouldn't waste my time.
We know the Earth is round. I mean, look.
Well, no, hang on. Again, you're making an assumption. I mean, I know there's loads of information out there to say the Earth is round, and there's a lot of information out there apparently to say the Earth is flat. What I'm saying is, we have
scientific proof that the Earth is round. Give me a break. Come on.
Yeah, no. But what I'm saying is,
this is a non-issue.
But here's the point, right? We're arguing over the content. That's not the issue. The content is not the issue. The way you approach it is where you have to look at. The ability to go, look, at the end of the day, even if the Earth is flat, even if they prove it's flat, there's nothing we can do about it. So I'm not going to waste my time looking into that. How about the subject like time travel? Now, there's a subject, is time travel real? Does it exist? I can actually entertain the thought that could be a possibility. I've no evidence whatsoever to say whether it is real or not. But I can entertain the fact that it could be possible.
Okay, that's a more realistic topic for discussion versus the Earth is flat.
Well, but the principles are the same. It doesn't matter what the content is, right? You have to be able to. You have to be able to analyze it.
Right. The moon is made of cheese. Well, we know that's not real because we brought back rocks from the moon. Come on, that's a non-starter. The Earth is flat. That's a non-starter. You look up in the sky.
There you go. You're doing it again. You're saying it's a non-starter. No, it's not a non-starter. There's people out there that believe that the Earth is flat, and you have to be able to entertain that.
They'd be lunatics. They'd be lunatics. Look.
Well, there you go. How much research have you looked into the flat Earth? I haven't really looked into it much, but I can entertain.
Alan, go outside. Tell me, what shape is the moon?
No. But look, I'm not going to.
What shape is the moon?
What shape
is the sun?
I'm not going to argue the point. Because I haven't done the research. All I'm saying is, I can entertain the thought that there's people out there who believe that there's flat Earth. I'm not saying that they're right, but I can entertain it. My mind's open enough to challenge it and entertain it.
Be the odd man out and be flat. Come on.
No. But see, there you go. You're missing. The whole idea is to be able to entertain the information, right? It's not to believe it. I'm not asking you to believe the flat Earth, right? I'm saying entertain it and go, okay, well, if you believe the Earth is flat, show me the evidence that says it is, right?
Well, go up and look at the sun right now. It's out.
Well, look,
the moon at your end, okay? And tell me if it's flat or round.
And I bet if you got a flat earth on here, he'll give you all the science behind why you're seeing it around and why the earth is flat, right? And this is what I'm saying. We sometimes we form an opinion based on the small amount of information, and we feel that that's the fact.
How do you think satellite
wrong. That's what should be done.
How do you think satellite communications work?
Well, who said some people that believe that we don't have satellites up there, that it's all a rouge?
And they'd be lunatics.
Well, there you go again, the lunatics. But, again, have you spoken to these people? Have you looked at their evidence to tell you why that's the case?
Yes, and it's all double-speaking nonsense.
Well,
I've looked into it. And it's all double-speaking nonsense.
Look, all I'm saying is I'm happy to entertain the thought. I have a fluid belief system, and I'm happy to entertain the thought. I'm not saying I'm going to believe it. I'm saying I'll entertain it, and that's the important thing.
That point I get, Alan. That point I get. But to a limit.
Well, we're all on the path of a journey of knowledge and, on a path of learning.
Okay, so in Matt Navarro's universe, the Earth is round.
Well,
all right, guys. We dominated the conversation there. Detlev, Michael, come in and talk to us about what you're doing for 2019.
Shortwave transmission wouldn't work if the Earth would be flat. That wouldn't go.
I mean, I'm an amateur radio guy. I'm a ham operator, and I know about propagation and signals, right? I'm just being devil's advocate here and just talking about not so much the content, but how we think, how the mind works,
You just topic.
I understood. I wanted to make a point, about shortwave transmission that everybody would understand, even that flat Earth lunatics. They would understand that shortwave transmission is working, and with their theory, it is not working. Absolutely impossible.
So anyway, I wanted to talk about the wall. I mean, you guys have been hearing about it over in Europe. I wanted to get your impressions. Detlev.
Yeah.
What do you think about the situation here? We're trying to get a wall built on our southern border to stop illegal immigration, drug trafficking, human trafficking, and the Congress is holding up the government because they don't want to give $5.7 billion to Donald Trump. What's it playing like in your end of the world?
Well, I mean, walls have always been there. I mean, look at the Chinese wall, right? But the Chinese wall hasn't prevented anything which was meant to change. You see, so a wall definitely will never be a solution. It is rather more important to, for instance, look at the airports. I mean, most probably more illegal immigration is taking place through airports rather than over the Mexican border. I mean, I'm not sure because I don't have the proof, but that's what I heard. I mean, the airports, I mean, there are millions of people are traveling through the airports, and there definitely will be lots of illegal immigration as well. So you cannot stop completely in immigration by setting up a wall on one side of your country. If it's set up on the Mexican border, they will come through the Canadian border. Whatever. I mean, it is not a solution to immigration as it takes place, because I think it is. There are lots of other issues to be solved first. And upmost is, I mean, you know, this is a globalist plan, the immigration, which is also taking place in Europe, and they will fight for it. They will find their ways, I'm sure. So I think this topic of the wall on the Mexican border is just, you know, a tiny tip of a possible action towards preventing immigration, illegal immigration, obviously. So I'm not sure whether this is solving the issue as such. That's what I mean.
Okay. Well, I mean, yeah. So, I mean, that's your perspective. Is that how they're portraying it in the media over there? How are they portraying it in the Swiss media?
This is not being talked about. I mean, they're talking about Trump being, not fit for their policies. I mean,
really?
Trump, yeah. I mean, Trump is seen as the bad guy here, Europe.
Yeah, I guess they would portray him as anti.
Yeah, like that.
Because he's a non-globalist, so they would portray him poorly in the European press. Michael, what do you think about the wall situation here in America?
Well, I have a question. How do you call a chronic headache?
Hillary Clinton?
Yeah. There's a special name for it, a medical name. I forgot about it. You know?
Oh, migraine? What? I don't know.
Migraine. Yeah. It's like try to cure a migraine with an aspirin, basically, to build the wall. To my opinion, because in order to fix the whole system, you cannot isolate certain points and try to fix it from there. You have to make sure that these people, when they come from wherever they come from, Asia or from South America, or Mexico or Honduras, or wherever they come from, you should engage to give them, a functional economical base that they can live decently. And then the need to come or to migrate is there is no pressure there. And if you engage to pay them the right amount for their coconuts, for example, then there is no need there. And we have to fix the problem from the roots, not a symptom like allopathic medicine does. So we have to look, okay, why these people are coming here? Can we help them to establish something where they can live, where they stay, where they grew up? I think most people don't want to leave the place where they're born unless there is pressure there. And we have to try to reduce that pressure. And then automatically this urge, and it's like a tension, like it's high voltage, when the more the difference, the difference is between the positive and the minus pole, the more voltage is there. And if you reduce the voltage, then there is no need for a wall. That's my opinion.
Alan,
Yes.
your opinion, with what's going on with our wall situation here in America? How's it playing in the Irish press?
I'd like to comment regarding that, but I can't because I don't read the Irish press and I don't watch the Irish TV. To be honest with you, I just don't. They're just fake news. I just don't bother with them. But I've done enough kind of looking around, seeing what Trump down there, and him doing interviews on Fox News and stuff like that, and talking about it. And I do agree. At the end of the day, it's kind of trying to take all the water out of a boat that has a leak. That the leak's coming in one end and you're getting the water out the other end, to a certain extent. But I suppose I know there's a lot more going on than what he's saying. Well, he's prepared to tell the press. He did come out and say that there is a lot more going on and you wouldn't believe what's going on. And what we've heard is that it's not only about human trafficking, child trafficking, it's about obviously sex abuse, kids being abused, organs being taken, and some people being used for food. Now, he can't really say that on TV. I can understand that, he couldn't say that because people would go, what's that all about? Why is he talking about that? So he just sticks to the human trafficking, the sex abuse and all that kind of stuff, and paedophilia, which is understandable. As to, apparently the Dems agreed to have a metal wall, and they agreed certain things, and he kind of said, okay, we'll do that, and we'll go with what you want. But they're saying that it's costing 5.7 billion for the wall, and it's 32 billion or something more, wherever the figure was. But they could get a 30-foot ladder and put it up against the fence. Apparently, climb up and get over. I mean, if people are determined to get over it, they'll get over it. We see it over here in the UK. Detlev, Michael will know about this. About the people in France, the immigrants jumping on trucks in all sorts of ways, hanging on underneath the axle of a truck, going on to the ferries to get over to the UK. And now they're jumping on little life rafts, little boats, and they're paddling from France over to the UK. That's happened a few times. So if people are desperate enough, they will find a way to get in. Maybe there's something else that's going on that, again, we don't know, that Trump is organising, and maybe the wall, maybe just some kind of logic or psychology got to do with the wall, that it's not really about the wall, but he's making that as a point for something else. Again, it's a big chess game, and we don't know what his moves are. We don't know what he's planning. So maybe there's a bigger picture that we just don't know about.
Well, being an American here, let me give you my perspective, okay? I've watched my country deteriorate. I served in the military, so I was willing to defend my Constitution and my country. So I have, that mindset. I've seen my country deteriorate, and these illegal immigrants, they come in and they take jobs that could otherwise have gone to Americans. And when they say that we need these migrants, they leave out the illegal part of it, that we need these migrants to fill jobs that Americans won't fill. Well, no. Americans are willing to fill those jobs, and if they had the opportunity, give somebody a means to work, and they would probably feel a lot better about themselves than, being on welfare. So that's a myth, because a lot of these jobs are like in restaurants and stuff. Those are entry-level job or positions for sure, but still, you're putting an American out of work. Two, these illegal immigrants are protected by sanctuary laws, so they're not prosecuted, they're not deported, and even when they go through our judicial system, they're treated with kid gloves and not really giving the same kind of sentences as an American would. They're treated better and are immune from the laws more so than Americans are. And you meet some of these folks, they're the most cocky, arrogant people. They disrespectful people that you'll ever meet, these illegal aliens. They have a disdain for Americans because they know they're above the law here, and they have that attitude. and I don't like that. I don't appreciate that. Okay, and you have the globalists wanting uncontrolled migrations. You're seeing it in Europe with all those rape gangs happening in um, Germany. You've seen it in Sweden, where they have no-go zones where the cops won't even go into, and they'll kill cops if they do. And you're seeing that here, organized migration of peoples into the United States, uncontrolled. The new estimate now is like 22 to 25 million illegal aliens in the country. And if you question it, they'll say that you're a racist. No, illegal is not a race. So I'm all for putting up physical barriers, the wall, along our southern border. $5.7 billion only is a start. I think the cost estimate was like $32 billion. But in either case, we need some kind of physical barrier to just stop this flow of illegal humans into this country, my country. If you want to come here, fine. Come through the legal process and have a nice day. Please learn to speak English while you're at it. But otherwise, I don't want you here. We were doing fine without you here. I don't care what color or country you come from, but your religious situation or your sexual preferences, I don't care. Just come through the country legally. So I think Trump is playing a good chess match, and he'll let Pelosi and Schumer hang themselves in the public opinion. Hopefully it backfires. Doubtful, because they'll have the support of the corporate-controlled media. But that's a hope. But in the end, I think he'll declare a state of national emergency and have the army build the wall. And we do really need it, because if you have no border and cannot control who comes into your country, then you have no country. And when you protect the illegal people in your country more so than you protect your own Americans, now in New York City and in California, they just declared by gubernatorial edict that illegal aliens get free health care. Are you serious? What about free health care for our own people first? No, we treat the illegal immigrants with better than we treat Americans. It's a very anti-American, very anti-nationalistic kind of agenda, and I hope we build the wall. Now, if Matt Navarro was president, we wouldn't need a wall. We just patrol the border with Apache helicopters, 30-millimeter gun cannons on there, and Hellfire missiles. And I bet you illegal immigration would stop immediately. Other than that, let's build a wall.
Well, I mean, over here in Europe, it's the same thing, Matt. We have immigrants getting in and coming in. Unfortunately, there's a number being invited by our own government. Everybody has to take a percentage of the immigrants that are coming in. Now, like you, I agree that if they want to come in and work and pay taxes and be part of society, that's fine. But that's never the case. If you look at what's going on with Sweden, for starters, the rape culture and what's going on, we have our own issues with homelessness, and we have our own issues with our system. Our system is buckling at the moment. Our health system is buckling at the moment, and the social system, the homeless crisis, it's unbelievable. And for our government to go, well, we're going to get more people in the country. And you think, hang on, we can't cope with what we have at the moment. What makes you think that we're going to be able to cope with bringing all these people in as well? This is replicated all around Europe, and it's probably the same over there in Germany. I mean, it's really gone off in Germany. Michael, you probably know what's been going on over there because you've had them longer than we've had.
Oh, yeah, of course. And I sometimes don't like the bigotry that people are talking about, because I don't understand why they don't throw out the criminals. Anybody that is against the law, that doesn't obey the law, the common rule, or the law of decency, the law of respect, he should be thrown out.
Yeah, totally.
I don't understand that people that raping other people, they hit other people. I don't understand why they keep them here. I don't completely. Why don't they stop?
They should be on the first plane back.
Exactly. So I don't understand.
It's a deliberate attempt to dilute the
The gene pool.
No. It's dilute the heritage and the culture of a country so that you have no identity. You can't identify yourself as being German or Swiss or American, because they want this generic society for the New World Order, so that you're easily controlled. Because if you identify yourself as a German first and protect Germany, then you're not going to pay homage to the New World Order or the European Union. You see that 3 years ago now? 3 years ago, the Britons voted for freedom, and they're still not free from the EU. Because if you identify yourself as a British citizen and then you can organize a fight like a Yellow Vest. But if you have all these illegal migrants into your country, it's hard to identify with yourself anymore, and that dilution of culture is what they're after.
Yeah, it's a war. It's a war against humans. That's clear. It's a war against all humans, because it's not only taking place in the US, it's also in Europe, but it's also in other places. So this is the strategy, and and I think the Yellow Vest protests have identified this as a topic as well. So that they are not just going against Macron in France; they are going against the New World Order. I'm absolutely convinced of that. And the more people will do that, and we are now heading into the topic of what are we expecting for 2019? I guess that's a start. So, are you in agreement? We will be. We've got almost only half an hour.
Go ahead, Detlev.
Yeah. Should we talk about what we are expecting for 2019, or even further?
Sure.
Yeah, should we? Okay. Who wants to start there?
You go ahead.
Oh, okay. I picked the first shot. Right. Okay. Well, I think 2019 will be the choice of either getting out of our mind set, which is a matrix set, and get into a freedom set. So get out of the bars, So try to get into the freedom. If we are not managing this, then we have all lost. I think 2019 is going to be the real decision on whether we have a chance or not. That's my prediction. And if we are successful in peacefully forwarding this protest like Yellow Vests, we have a chance. But they are already implementing their minions, which are the guys who put in force and cruelty and so forth. So it's a real fight going on. That's what I'm expecting. So there will be something happening in 2019, maybe even something which we cannot even think of yet, which we haven't thought of, because we are not part of the game. We are in so far that we cannot predict exactly, because we have not planned it, right? So there may be something major happening, which either goes into the direction of waking up or being enslaved completely. So that's my short entry into this topic.
Alan,
so who's next?
Right. 2019. Well, I think 2018 was the catalyst. I think we will look back at 2018 as a year where it kind of kicked off. I know things happened before that, but I think 2018 will be the year, for me anyway, it'll be the year that that things started to change for the better. Now, I agree with Detlev that we always say this to people about what the way the cabal work is compartmentalized, and you have the board of directors who know what's going on, then the middle management, and then the staff. And the board of directors are panicking at the moment, the deep state. And they're panicking, they're rushing to try and get their plans out. But they're telling their minions, and their plans aren't working, by the way, but they're telling their minions, oh yeah, carry on, everything's fine, which is exactly what happens in the corporate world. If the company's going to go down the pan, the board of directors will be telling the staff, yeah, everything's fine, carry on doing what you're doing. And then the middle management will feed that down to the staff. So the staff don't know any different, but the board of directors are planning their getaway. They're planning their escape from the company, but they're not telling the staff about that. And this is what happens in the corporate world. So the elites are no different. So people have said to us, well, why is such and such still going on, 5G and all that and everything else, if we are winning? And I said, because the minions are being told, because it's an old program. Remember, it's all hierarchical, and these people are not leaders, they're followers. And there's followers on top of followers on top of followers. And they're all following an old program, which is now obsolete. It's not there anymore. So they're only being told, they're told what to do, and they're feeding it down to the people underneath them. Now, this change of society, it's not going to happen overnight. But as Matt said at the start of the show, we are in a time of our lives where we're going to see major transitions. And I reckon within the next 20 to 30 years, we will see massive changes, if not sooner. I mean, 2020, the date alone tells you something, 2020, that something's going to be revealed. We'll start seeing it. People will see it and what's going on. And there's the energies, I mean, talking on a physical level, the energies are changing on the planet anyway. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I can feel them. And I have been feeling them. And a lot of people are talking about feeling them and changes that are going on. So there's definitely a big positive push on, but it's not going to happen overnight. But it's a chess game. We're playing the long game. The elites only have a short period of time, so they're panicking. They're trying to get everything done. So it's just a case we have to observe. We have to be on the fence. We don't want to be too flighty and going all over the place, too positive or too negative. We want to stay like a pendulum. We want to stay in the middle, 5% either way, and that's it. And just become observers, and then carry on doing what we're doing and wake people up, and educate as much as we can and get the news out there. And I think, with the momentum of the ripples in the pond, that will change. We're nearly halfway through the first month of 2019 anyway. So that's my kind of prediction. Matt?
Sure. I'm encouraged but discouraged. I'm encouraged by the fact that the folks in Europe are starting to wake up and really show themselves to resist a new world order. And hopefully it spreads, like I mentioned, the Brexit happened like 3 years ago now. And you've got the Yellow Vest protests, and the Yellow Vest protests is spreading. So maybe from Europe, it might spread to the rest of the world. And so I'm hopeful in 2019 that humanity wakes up and starts taking back some of its power from the global elitists. I think the objective for the European people first would be to disband the European Union. Is that going to happen in 2019? No, but people's resistance to it will grow, I hope. Not so much in the United States. I'm not so hopeful in the United States because President Trump will be continually demonized by the Democrats and their media arm, the corporate-controlled media. So, and then I was mentioning these zombies, and they're not going to change their opinion. But I see a growing anger in people who are awake to what's going on, and they're starting to wake up. And so maybe in 2019, some of these folks start taking action or start being more vocal, because there is a vast silent majority here in the United States that can't speak out anymore or afraid to speak out because of political correctness and being demonized or called some nasty name. But I'm seeing as I associate with people, as I out in public, a bit of anger growing. And hopefully we can get some progress built on the wall situation. I'm hopeful of that. I'm thinking if we get that done or started, that's going to send a big message to people around the world that Donald Trump is not a globalist, and so I'm hopefully we at least can do that. But as far as for the how Congress reacts or deals with the president, you're going to see that division deepen, and you're going to see a circus. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, one of our Supreme Court justices, is in ill health, and she may not finish. She's probably on the verge of resigning here. She's very, very ill. So you'll see a great circus again, like we saw with the Brett Kavanaugh hearings, when Trump nominates a new Supreme Court justice. I think that's going to be a nasty display of politics in America. 2019, I'm not so hopeful that we're going to accomplish much in the United States as far as resisting a new world order. I think a wall would be a good start, but my hope is in Europe. So, go get them, guys.
Okay, Michael.
Well, I think 2019 will be the year of the crossroads. It all depends whether collective consciousness is developed high enough to understand all these agendas which are working in the background, and which these sophists and Freemasons have established, and to fool the people and to take advantage of them and suck their blood. So I hope that people are realizing it, that they don't make premature judgments, that they don't make emotional judgments, and they really wisely see that what goes on in the background. And we have to look between the three curtains, what happens. And I don't know. I have mixed emotions. I would hope that with the movements of the Yellow Vests, we have already something that comes from that direction. It is not yet, I would say, 100% conscious. It is somewhat still subconscious. It's an open game, I would say.
Okay. Well, so you think 2019 is going to be the year of the make or break? We'll see. We'll just have to keep an eye on things, folks, and we're just going to have to put the information out there, keep educating, keep promoting, and swap the information. I think that that HR 25 bill, if that does get signed off sometime down the road, I think that's going to be a big game changer for you guys in a positive way. But you have to keep an eye on that, I think.
Think about it though, Alan. What chance does it have against the establishment that currently exists in our government? You look at the Democrats; they want to tax us more. You got these crazies calling for a green tax, an elimination of use of carbon fuels by 2030, free healthcare for all. They're not going to want to reduce taxes for the American people. In fact, this last tax cut that got passed through a Republican Congress and Senate that President Trump signed, that it was his program to give us a tax cut, which amounted to a fair amount of dollars for people. Nancy Pelosi said it was crumbs, and she said she wanted those crumbs back. And with their plans, they want to tax us more because to pay for all these social programs. So realistically, HR 25 being given a snowball's chance in hell, I have serious doubts, Alan.
Well, let's be optimistic. I'd rather have a a glass. Glass half full, glass half empty. Let's put because all our thoughts go out to the universe and have an energy. So let's put the positive energy out there rather than the negative energy, and put it out there. Look, if it happens, it's a bonus. If it works, it's a bonus. Well, that's what I'm saying. We have to put it out there. We can't kind of focus on the negative. It's very easy to do that in Ireland as well, with what's going on and thinking, is it ever going to change? But I do have, deep down, I do know that change is inevitable, because whatever the energy is, or whatever's going on with the psyche, the human psyche, there's definitely a shift going on. I mean, we're seeing, I don't know whether you heard their show, guys, that Steve's family, going back a couple of years, his they thought Steve was was joining a local cult, at one time. And then his sister a few years ago apologized to him, and she goes, I now understand what you're doing. And only a couple of weeks ago, his brother actually apologized to him and said, I now understand what you're doing, what you were trying to tell me. So, and if this carries on, as if this energy and momentum carries on with friends and family, and people are beginning to wake up, well then, that's what we want. And that's what they fear, that people wake up and go, okay, enough's enough. And that's what's happening. We're seeing it over here in Ireland, where more and more people are beginning to set up YouTube media stations and talking about what's going on. That's completely new. That's a new precedent over here, because we didn't see that. I mean, we've been running nearly 9 years, and for the early stages of PIR and OIM, nobody else was doing anything apart from us two, maybe one or two others. Mick the Fish was doing Liffey Sound. But now we're seeing a plethora of stations coming up, interviewing people, saying, what do you think was going on with the country? So that's the momentum. That's what's going on at the moment. It's undertones that are beginning to happen.
Well, I think one issue is rising up here as well from France. They were actually planning to have a bank run taking place.
Oh yeah, what happened? This is Saturday. Is that happening?
Saturday, yeah.
Anybody check the news?
Well, apparently, do you know the banks have kind of cut down your withdrawals to €50 for a day?
Okay, so they cheated.
No, it's just the machines. But if you go and withdraw your account from the bank, you can do that. I mean, the money from your account. That will cause the problem, not the machines.
Well, over here, I don't know about your banking system over there, Detlev, but over here, they're doing away with tellers at the bank, and unless you really, really, need to go to the teller, they will say to you, "No, we can't serve you. You have to go to the machine." That's what they're doing now over here.
We are not talking a couple of thousands of whatever euros.
No, I know, but this is what they're doing. Because it's happened to me. I've gone to the teller. I want to do this. Oh no, you have to use the machine. I know, but I don't want to use the machine. Oh no, but that's the rules. You have to use the machine.
Yeah, but anyways, I mean, there are ways to make a bank run, and this is most probably still hanging in the air, right? So this might happen, and they're not all organized like in Ireland. You can still go to the bank and withdraw your money. And, if you have a major account, like for instance 100,000, you cannot withdraw 100,000. They will tell you come back in a few days. But if many people are doing this, then basically they are not able to pay the people.
I think in America, if you withdraw more than 10,000, they file an FBI report on you.
Yeah,
they do.
Yeah,
that's the law.
The banksters are the chiefs. That's why.
Yeah. And banks were set up to take the money off the people. I think people were, think that banks are there to help the public. They're not. Banks were set up to take the money off the people, because that's why they have the usury, the interest that they charge, which doesn't exist. It's all a pyramid system, and it's crashing now because people are beginning to realize.
Right, and that is another stone or brick in the wall, or for the wall. If you want to, in the US, because if people are realizing that they're being cheated on through the money system, the fiat money system, that will bring us a huge awakening. So if I see this as a brick, as another brick. I mean, the bank run issue.
Well, that they raised it at all, I think, is a good idea.
Yeah.
I don't think the bankers will ever let that happen. They just not open their doors, and you have to go to the ATM to get your cash out. And you know, if you got more than a couple $100, you're not touching the banks.
Yeah, but true. But if the banks shut down, basically is then they are being defeated.
I see your point. If they shut down because of the fear of being run on, that's a win for the people. Yeah, and the people are targeting the correct place. You have to target the banks because that's where the root of the evil is their control of us via that fiat money system.
Yeah.
But here's the problem where a lot of people don't think about. When we've asked this question, what happens if on tomorrow night the cabal shut everything down and go, okay, you win, and they walk away and you close everything down? What happens next?
Chaos for a little while until people reorganize themselves into small, political factions, and then you restart from there, I suppose.
Well, a lot of people don't think about that. What if they do walk away? Okay, we'll have a little bit of a party, because a lot of people say, "Oh, we'll party," but then after the party, you kind of go, "Well, what do you do next?" If the banks are closed and the big corporates are closed because obviously they're cabal owned, then society is going to be majorly affected.
Well, I think they will be after the politicians and all those guys who harmed them. So there will be a lot of blood.
Guillotines, right? The French use guillotines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a demonic influence. What I would think would happen is basically people would get their act together. They did it like in the old time. They said, okay, we have to organize ourselves in a small circles where everybody has an oversight over the other person in small communities. And from then on, everybody has to be responsible. People don't like to be responsible anymore and take responsibility. And when these whole structures are disappearing for whatever reason, then they say, okay, if you want to get our act together, we have to move. You have to do something. Everybody's responsible, one person, whatever they do best, wherever they're best at. They say, okay, I take care of this one, you take care of that one, we do it together. That's how it worked from the olden times.
That's it. You're spot on there, Michael.
Yes.
We talk about this. It's all about being an adult and not a child. You get away from the child mind and you have become an adult and you become responsible. And we talk about, the difference between drink driving. It's the child mind that says, oh, I can have 10 points and I can still drive okay. No, the adult mind will say, well, I'm leaving my car at home because I'm going to be drinking tonight. That's what an adult would do. And this is the problem. We all have to become adults. But a lot of people, and that's why we have a nanny state. The nanny state is there for the people that have child minds because they're not capable of thinking like an adult and being responsible for themselves and their own actions. Yeah. And you're right, Michael. Society needs to grow up and become adults.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the people now, why they don't do it? We have collective lethargy. We became lethargic in taking responsibility.
Yeah,
we've been taught to be that way, though. There was this video. There's this video that was horrifying to me. That was on Fox News. These two 17-year-olds were confronted with trying to operate a rotary phone, right? And they, after over a minute of not being able to figure it out, how it works, how to make a call, some woman in the background says, "Try picking up the handset." Okay. It might be humorous, but I found it horrifying because they're 17 years old, and them and their generation get to vote in the next election. Now think about that.
Yes,
right?
I think in the schooling system.
I think there should be a license. There should be some test that you have to do to get to be allowed to vote, because there's some people out there that just don't have a clue, and that is frightening. Matt, I agree with you. That is frightening.
Yeah. I do. I would like to agree, though, with you, Alan and Michael. We have to be responsible. We're taught to be irresponsible because government wants us that way. It's easier to control us. I agree there. And I agree we need to grow up. We need to start acting like adults and, saying, hey, this is not right. And what you're telling me is not right. So let's find a way to fix it amongst ourselves, because we're not going to expect government to do it for us. And that's why I'm hopeful for the Europeans. Go Europeans, wake up, because that might spread over here to the United States.
Well, isn't it good that we're both, America and Europe are doing something, though? There are things going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, guys, we are heading up to the end of the show. We've got about 5 minutes. Shall we go into a sort of a wrap up? And
Sure, I'll go. Hey, I'd like to say thank you for tuning in, everyone. It's always a pleasure to visit with the four of these gentlemen, and appreciate Detlev's production here. I have, I'll remain hopeful for 2019 that things will get better, and wish you and your family a prosperous, happy New Year. And again, I like being here with you guys. My website is nwodor.com, nwodor.com. Click on the podcast archive page, and it's a library of information. Thanks, guys. I like visiting with you.
Great. Michael.
Yeah, well, one thing I wanted to mention is that basically these people, the cabal, needs omnipotence. Otherwise, their system doesn't work anymore. I compare it to a building, a sugar building made out of sugar, and it is only basically protected by a protective paint. And once that water comes, that protective paint is chipping away, water can get through, and we are in that position right now. So I'm positive. I'm an optimist, basically, and I hope that this year will be a decisive change in human fate. It's about overtime, and something is going on in the background for the positive. That's how I see it.
Okay. Why don't you give your contact information?
Yeah, if you anybody wants to contact me at Wake News, Michael at wakenews.net.
Right. Okay. Alan.
Yeah, like Matt and Michael, I do think there are good positive undertones and things happening. It's not going to happen overnight. We all here for a reason, and we're all here to do the job that we're supposed to do, and that's to wake people up. And there are some people who are good at protesting, other people are good at doing radio, other people are good at doing other stuff, and that's the way it is. We're not all good at doing everything. Everybody has their strengths and weaknesses, so we should, do the job that we're supposed to do down here. And I think 2019 is going to be more of an eye-opener. I think there's going to be more and more information coming out that will, frighten the masses and maybe shock the masses, because I think the time has come. Although awaken people up, I think it's we need to move on with our narrative on the alt media and start focusing more on the positives and the energies and things that are going on. And from a planetary point of view as well, because I think there is a divide of planets, maybe there is a divide of 3D and 5D, something we didn't talk about, but maybe that is going on. A lot of people think so. But for myself, Alan James, the website is oimradio.com. You can catch us on every Sunday, 7 to 9 GMT. Check us out there. Cheers, guys. Thanks for the chat, and we'll be talking to you next week.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Alan. Thanks a lot, Matt and Michael. Well, we are almost at the end of the show, and I always thank you for participating because it's very lively, the discussion which we have in our UnitedWeStart Roundtable. It's the second year now we are into it, and that's very appreciative. By the way, the next UnitedWeStart this roundtable discussion will be February 9th, so in about 4 weeks. So looking forward to seeing you then as well, and tune in into our show, and also use the possibility of listening to the show on our podcast, which is on our website, right, Alan?
Yes, as soon as we have the show finished here, we'll either get the podcast up tonight or maybe first thing in the morning.
next week, beginning of next week, we will have the show available also on YouTube as a video. Yeah, and I think we have an interesting year in front of us. 2019 will be a crossroads, as Michael said. I think so as well. So hopefully we will make it. And the trend looks great, but trends can turn as well. So let's not hope they will be fighting back too hard on us. So we need God's help, I guess, to make it. So thanks a lot for listening. We are now at the end of the show. We will listen to some music afterwards, and then there will be rebroadcasting after that. So if you want to listen to the show again, or if you are just have tuned in, you will listen to the show in total right after that. So thanks a lot, everybody. See you next time.
Ready?
News? Yeah, please.
Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Death to the new world order.
Right. See you then. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Join.
Bye-bye.
UnitedWeStart, a group discussion of activists, bloggers, authors, and other leaders in the independent media to inform and educate listeners in various topics. Join us every second Saturday of the month at 10 to 12 a.m. Pacific time, which is 18 to 20 hours GMT. Join us. We're looking forward to meeting you.
As the light rolls in and the smoke covers all in this imagery of sin, put your eyes to see and your heart will grieve for a fight you cannot win. On the front lines, brother, I see your pain, though my anger man won't read your name, just a pawn in someone else's game, a soldier's taking aim on the front lines. Take a good look around at the empty halls of your schools laid bare with graffitied walls, or your classrooms bursting at the seams with 1,000 broken dreams. On the front lines I see the miracle, though their hands are tied and the pay is low. In the war we wage for children's souls, our teachers play a role on the front lines. You can't speak out or you get locked down and they'll throw away the key. On the front lines I see the path of shame, and I'll use my voice to prevent the same.